Welcome to my channel. I am the Pink Flamingo. If you are new here, welcome. If you are a returning subscriber or a new subscriber, thank you very much. I appreciate all of the support. So we're going to be getting into a celebrity reading. And this reading is going to be on the late, beautiful Whitney Houston and Kevin Costner. Now, some people might remember this duo from the movie The Bodyguard, and I think that's probably one of Whitney Houston's best roles that she's ever played. I know she did some acting in some other movies like The Preacher's Wife, but I think my favorite role was when she played Rachel in The Bodyguard. And I think a lot of people love that movie, and it's somewhat on their list of movies to watch when it's cold out or when they just want to relax and watch a classic film. But of course, honey, the chemistry in that movie was, let's just say, it was a little hot. And people started wondering if there was something going on between Whitney Houston and Kevin Costner. Well, word on the street was there was. And there were a lot of different things that they had basically filmed in terms of their chemistry on set. There was interviews that Kevin Costner went on, and he would be somewhat open, and he would kind of just gush and just talk about Whitney. He was somewhat of an open book. He liked talking about her, and you could always see him light up when he would talk about her in different interviews. So if you haven't watched some of those interviews, you probably go check them out. A lot of them are on YouTube here. But Kevin Costner always had this somewhat of an infatuation, I think, with Whitney. He was very attracted to her. He'd make a lot of comments about being attracted to her. I remember in one interview, they were talking to him about kissing Whitney Houston. And he had basically said that he had kissed her once for everyone in America, and he had kissed her one time for himself. So, honey, he really liked him some Whitney. But we are going to get into the cards, and we are going to see the chemistry that was around these two. It's one of those things where it seems like they couldn't get together based on Hollywood, the standards, and of course the fact that they would have been an interracial couple. So a lot of people, I don't think at that time, might have been ready for people being of different races or different backgrounds and getting together. I think now people are open a lot more, but I think that's throughout the years we're seeing the changes. But Hollywood was kind of set up different. A lot of things changed or has changed with Hollywood when it comes to people's personal preferences, as who they date, just different things that I don't think back then was acceptable in Hollywood. It was obviously there, but they kind of pretty much swept it under the rug and pretended like this wasn't happening. I'm sure a lot of people were interracially dating, and I'm sure there were a lot of people of different sexualities. But of course, Hollywood had an image back then, and this is what they gave the public. So we're going to be getting into a reading on Whitney Houston and Kevin Costner, and I'm going to see what that relationship was like. I believe at the time he was married, and they stated that him and his wife were kind of like no longer, which was kind of odd, which did make sense at the time because I don't think anyone saw his wife too much on the set. She didn't seem like she was ever there, so I don't know what's going on with that marriage. But we're going to get into the cards, and I'm going to see what I can find out about them and that energy that was then. Back in, when did they do Bodyguard? 92 or 91? So let's see. All right, Spirit, give me a few cards surrounding Whitney Houston. Let me see just a second. Okay, that's better. Surrounding Whitney Houston and Kevin Costner at that time. What was that energy on the set? or in general throughout all the years they've known each other. Let's see. Kevin Costner, Whitney Houston. What was their chemistry like? Their friendship like? Any cards associated with this energy? Kevin Costner. Oh, something flew out. Excuse me. All right, it was this card. All right. True separation, secrets, second chance, hypnotize, red flags, watching. Okay. So there's a few cards that came out energy-wise. Wake up call. So I'm just going to pair them up and I'll let you all know what they mean because we're going to get into this. So there's a lot of cards that have a lot of meaning, and I see why they fell out around this energy in their relationship. What I'm getting with the hypnotize is basically the energy of Kevin Costner and how he was attracted to Whitney, because he would talk about over and over in different interviews about how attracted he was to Whitney Houston, how beautiful she was. And I remember an interview where he was stating that people were upset at him when he released this movie Bodyguard, and that he had picked Whitney Houston to play this role. And it had everything to do with the color of her skin, of course, and no one wanted him to pick her. People were upset about the fact he even kissed her. And he had made a comment stating that who wouldn't want to kiss Whitney Houston? You know, so he was always infatuated with her and her beauty. Now I have the red flags card coming up, which I believe was the energy of Hollywood, maybe his management team, people who simply told him at the time, listen, you get with Whitney publicly, or even her management team telling her, you get with Kevin Costner, this is going to be an odd item. This might ruin the both of you, right? So people were letting them know the red flags were there based on what could happen with their careers. Of course, the card of truth is coming out because now that I'm shuffling this, I'm learning it's not a rumor. It's definitely truthful. There was chemistry. But I think if anyone watched most of these interviews that Kevin Costner did, you would see that he was very much so in love with this woman, even down to the end with the eulogy that he did. And if you haven't seen that eulogy, it's here on YouTube. You can go look for it. But he was talking about Whitney Houston and how perfect she was as a woman. He called her like the most perfect woman. And honey, he did that at a funeral where he brought his current wife. So I don't know how his wife was receiving that as she was sitting in the chair, but he was on a ramble about how great Whitney was. Now, the watching card, I can get that. Hopefully I got it right. I can get that most definitely. With the watching, you don't want to be with someone or you're not with them. You might watch them from a distance, which is the energy I pick up from the both of them, which is Whitney's energy and his. I feel that Whitney liked them as well. She wanted to be with him as well, but it's that red flag stuff. You know, people saying to you, hey, you get with this man, you might pay the price. This is a big red flag, you know? So being with each other was very hard. It wasn't something that they had the option of, really. Then I have the wake up call, which is basically what I feel Whitney got at some point, because it's rumored that he called Whitney when she got on her substances and he was helping her to get off of them, but she was kind of fighting the phone call that he gave her. I'm getting second chance, which is kind of going with the wake up call, which is one of those things where it's like, here I am asking you for a second chance. I'm giving you the wake up call to clean up your life, so we could probably do this. Because I don't think Kevin Costner all these years was. I think he seemed like he was married for a bit, then he broke up with his wife, and then I think he remarried, if I'm correct. I don't know. You guys can let me know. And of course, the secrets and the dreaming. Now, the secrets, I believe, is coming up because they said that Whitney Houston and Kevin Costner kind of had a little bit of a fling on set, right? And of course, the dreaming, which comes with the second chance and all of that, an opportunity to be with someone that you want to be with. So I'm not surprised a lot of these cards are coming up. And then the one card I didn't bring up, which was a separation. Now, word on the street was basically after him and Whitney had filmed this and they had good chemistry on set and they were flirting and he was in the process of his divorce. And after she finished filming, she basically cut all ties with him and she married Bobby Brown. So that's the mess to this, is that she married Bobby Brown right after basically flirting with him and doing all that on set. She ended up marrying Bobby Brown anyways. Now, that was very interesting. Now, I'm going to get into their emotions and see how they felt about each other at the time. And I'm just going to leave those cards up there. Just to see what cards we get that kind of fall in line with those ones. But their story is very interesting, to be honest. It's one of those stories where, so far from what I'm seeing, there's truth, as we're seeing in the card. There's truth to this situation. So it's not make-believe. It's not something someone made up. It's not just gossip. There's truth. They really did have a connection. Spirit is definitely saying so. And it was a secret. It's one of those secrets that was meant to stay a secret, but people pick up on it. This is Hollywood, All right, so we're going to shuffle a bit. I'm going to see how Kevin Costner felt about Whitney and how Whitney felt about him, okay? So let's see what we can get here. All right, Spirit, can you give me a couple cards for Kevin Costner's energy? Ooh. Around the time when he was with Whitney Houston, what was the energy? Ooh. Oh, wow. Okay. Any other cards around this energy, Spirit? Whitney Houston, Kevin Costner. What was it like for Kevin Costner then? Ooh. All right. Any more cards for this energy? Oh, excuse me. I'm sure you guys are used to the cards falling off by now. All right. Any more cards, Spirit? I don't know if those ones fall out. All right, Spirit. Any more cards? Oh, there we go. All right. So I'm getting a bunch of cards that mean a lot. Okay, about Kevin Costner. It's actually giving me the energy between him and his wife at the time and what really was occurring. And I'm going to pull one last card just for that energy. All right, spoop. There you go. Hold on here. All right, Spirit, any more cards for Whitney Houston's energy around the time? Kevin Costner's energy? What was going on in his life? Okay, I'll get one more card. This is very interesting. Damn. Okay, I'm very interested. One last card, Spirit. Just one last one, and I will be... Wow, that's crazy how these cards are all lining up this way. All right, but I'll just get to it. So basically what I'm getting is there was arguments in his household at the time with his wife. So I don't know if him and his wife were done. I think they were still married, but it seemed like they had arguments. As you can see here, stress, turbulence, tension, and arguments. Just want to hold there so you can see a bit. Okay, and I also have silence, frozen, no words, stone wall. So this might have been the energy that he had between him and his wife. They were frozen, no words, stone wall, just we got nothing to say to each other right now. And along with the bitterness, of course, the hurtful words, which go with the arguments, the stress and the arguments. I'm getting the resentment and the anger. So this was what was going on in his household while he was literally trying to talk to Whitney Houston. This is what him and his wife were going through. And then it seems as if he decided he was going to release from the situation, and perhaps she did as well. Maybe they realized they weren't for each other. So he decided, I'm letting go, I'm moving on, and I'm walking away from this marriage. More than likely, the energy I'm picking up is more so him wanting to walk away. And then I got the confessions, the unveiling, the coming clean, and the messages. So he basically confessed to his wife about his feelings probably for Whitney Houston, or how he was feeling towards this new woman. And more than likely, I don't know how long after they divorced or not, but maybe at the time he was trying to talk her into a divorce. Because I think when I read the storyline, I think her name is Sylvia, I don't know her last name. I don't want to butcher it, but her name is Sylvia, I think, or something like that. And she was married to him for a little while, I think before he even got into the film industry. But I think he was asking for a divorce because maybe Whitney was just like, listen, we can't mess around like this. You're married. So Spirit's letting me know he confessed to his wife. He told her he wanted to move on, and he was confessing. Then I got the escaping, the avoiding, the blocking, and pushing away, which was more than likely his energy. But I also pick up that this is somewhat Whitney's energy also. So I feel that his wife, I feel he was pushing his wife away. She probably wanted that marriage to continue to work energy-wise, what I'm picking up. She wanted it to work. He did not want it to work. But in the process of pushing his wife away, Whitney was pushing him away, if that makes sense. So it's almost like, don't come over here. You got a wife. And I know you're leaving your wife so that you can make yourself open for me, but this is not right. This is not how we're going to do this. So that's the energy I'm picking up. Then I got the pride card for his energy, which is the arrogance, the ego, and the stubborn, right? He's a prideful man. He's arrogant and he's stubborn. He wants what he wanted, which was Whitney at the time. That's what I'm picking up energy wise. Then I got the confusion. He was really confused when she kind of was like, I don't want this. This is when she was putting that energy of pushing away. He was confused because he's arrogant as a man, you know, how some men can be, not all, but some can be a little on the arrogant side when they're pursuing a woman and the ego sets in. And he couldn't understand why she wasn't interested, why she was pushing away. This is what the confusion was. He was uncertain, unclear, unsure, but that was also her energy. She was unsure. She was unclear. She didn't know where this was going to go. And as you all know, when we first pulled the initial, the red flags, she's seen red flags all over this, probably for her career, probably for a lot of different things in her life. It was one of those things where she was uncertain of. So she had to pay attention to whatever flags she thought were there. And of course, like I told you, we'll pair the cards up. The secrets and the confessions. This was one of the first drops that we had. So he kept this wanting for Whitney somewhat of a secret. So that's why he had to make the confession, because his wife didn't know about it. Then I got the chasing, which is what he did. He wanted to be with Whitney. She was not sure where this was going because she was obviously uncertain. And he did the chasing. He did the chasing. This is what he wanted. He did the chasing. He pursued that woman. And Spirit is saying he stayed waiting. The cycles and the moments. So this is what I pulled. I pulled a lot of cards for him, energy-wise. So it gave me right up into his marriage, what that was like energy-wise between him and his wife. She wanted to work out the marriage. He was pretty much already over it. He was already done. And Whitney had that energy of, you're a married man, and it seems like he was really ready to let his wife go just to pursue this with Whitney. But in the end, honey, Whitney ended up marrying Bobby Brown. Right after that, she recorded that movie. She filmed that movie. So, yeeks. But we're going to see a little bit more. I'm going to see how she felt. And, just to pick up her energy. All right, Spirit, give me the energy for Whitney Houston at the time of filming The Bodyguard when she works with Kevin Costner. How was she feeling towards this man? What was the energy at the time? Whitney Houston's energy, Spirit. Bodyguard on the set towards Kevin Costner. Oh my gosh, my cards always like to do this. Okay. I get a bigger table and it still does this. All right. All right, 30 more cards. Oh, wow. Any more cards for her energy towards Kevin Costner? We'll put a couple up. Oh, wow. The pride is back. The escaping. All right, I'll pull one more card for Whitney's energy. One more card, Spirit, for this energy for them as a couple on the set. Or not a couple, but people working together. All right. Basically what he said. So, I didn't get any crazy love cards, but Spirit did give me a card which was more so in depth. Now, I got the intuition, right? As you can see here, the heart song, the telepathy, the inner knowing. So what I'm getting from this is that heart song is more so a reference to, y'all remember the Bodyguard track, I Will Always Love You. So Spirit is giving reference now with the heart song, and that was one of her probably the biggest hit she ever did, and everyone loves that song. And you could tell she was really emotionally connected to the song. It gave us a woman really in love. And him and her and all the video clippings, it was just giving, let me throw my paper away. But girl, it was just giving what it was supposed to give. My little sticky notes on the wall, they want to like fall off. Okay, whatever. Hold on, let me get my note back. I like to have guides sometimes when I ask questions, just in case I forget what I'm about to ask. All right. So basically, the heart, the intuition, all of that represents the heart song and her inner knowing. She knew deep down inside when she worked on this set with Kevin Costner, there was something big. There was something deep, right? I'm also getting the divine masculine for her. So this is somewhat giving a bit of like a twin flame energy, or it could be soulmate, but Spirit is saying masculine energy is what he gave her. The yin to her yang, honey. That's basically what it was. That was the depth she felt. She knew that Kevin Costner was that yin to her yang. He was the yang. Now, like I said, we're going to do an oracle drop to see what cards come back out. And we got another card that's come back out, honey. We got the second chance. So this is Whitney's energy. She probably wanted a second chance, or she remembers being offered up a second chance, maybe even around that time with him. Maybe she felt at that time that this was a new life for her, just a new, when you get with a man, and if you're really in love, for the ladies who, you're with someone, or for the ladies who's been in love before, you know how it feels when you get with someone and you feel refreshed. That person makes you feel like, oh, they're giving me a second chance. Like life could be a little different. Life could be a little better. So that's the energy. Of course, you do well by yourself. You don't need someone to find your happiness, but it's always a good thing if you do ever find that person that is somewhat able to make your life better. They add to it, right? And that's what most women and most men want at the end of the day. You want someone that's going to add to your life and not really take from it. So what I'm getting spirit-wise is she saw Kevin Costner as somewhat a second chance. And being in an environment with Bobby Brown, I could see how Kevin Costner would have been somewhat of a second chance. Because I do believe at the time she was somewhat dating Bobby quietly. I don't know if they were public yet or if they weren't, but I think she's been with Bobby for a little while. So I got pride, which is Whitney. This is my pride. This is my ego. This is my stubbornness, right? I know I'm supposed to be with this man. I have the inner knowing. I know better. I know this man is my yang to my yin, but I'm stubborn. I'm still going to give up my opportunity of a second chance, right? I'm going to throw it all away just so that I can follow what it is that everyone probably around me is telling me. I think that the people around me are telling me what's best. I can't ignore these red flags, right? So this is what it is when it comes to Whitney Houston, right? Her escaping is what she did. She definitely was escaping. So for her, as Kevin Costner had in his own energy, she was running away. She was the one running away from being with this man. Then I got the energy of I'm running away, but I'm bluffing. I'm pretending. I'm masking. I'm exaggerating. This is not what I really want. I really would like to be with this man. But I'm going to put up this block energy and pretend like I don't want this. I don't want him. And of course, what Spirit is saying is with the withdrawn, single, lonely, solitary, which unfortunately to me, I feel like that's how Whitney lived her life. I feel like she was very lonely. She might have had people around her, but unfortunately, I feel like that's what added to some of her addictions. She didn't really have a good support system. She didn't have anyone that really loved her enough to protect her. That's my opinion, right? I think so much of her family members kind of went tit for tat with her in the end. And Whitney didn't really have that strong support behind her that she needed in terms of healing, in terms of somewhat being able to get herself recovered and step out of Hollywood for a little bit and then return when she was well. I feel like people were still pushing her in the limelight and even making a mockery of her at her lows. She didn't have anyone to kind of step in the camera, push their hand in front and be like, hey, you know what? Move out of our way. She's not doing well. She's recovering. Excuse me. And I kind of feel like that's the same thing. That's the energy I pick up with, what's her name? Wendy Williams, where there's nobody there protecting her. Everyone claims to be family, but then it's like, where's her protection? It's the same thing with Whitney. Like, you're all her family, but where's the protection? So that's how I felt. for Whitney, but based on what I'm getting spiritual wise, Whitney was the one that pushed him away, but she knew. And that song, the heart song and the inner knowing, she always knew deep down inside there was something different about Kevin Costner. She knew he was this, her divine masculine. So to her divine feminine, he was her divine masculine. He was her yin to her yang, and she knew this. But of course, she's in Hollywood, and she was probably afraid of what the world would think if she probably stopped dating Bobby Brown and got with Kevin Costner. So that's what I got based on those feelings. And these cards are coming back in other oracles, and they all make sense here. So I'm going to ask another question. I want to see what Kevin Costner's opinion was on Bobby Brown at the time, because at the time, after filming Bodyguard with Whitney Houston, he pretty much got hitched to Whitney Houston. Now, I know a lot of people weren't a big fan of Bobby Brown. Myself, personally, I never really got what she saw in Bobby. It might be the bad boy effect, but honey, Whitney was too good. She was too good for Bobby. But anyway, we're going to see what Kevin Costner thought about this man, because after filming and kissing up on Whitney the whole movie, I'm sure when she ghosted you and got hitched and you saw who she got married to, you must have had your thoughts. So what did you have to say about this Kevin Costner at the time? In the early 90s, when Whitney got hitched, what was Kevin Costner's opinion on Bobby Brown at the time? What did he know about this man? Did he see him on set? What was his thoughts on Bobby Brown? What did he think about him getting married? Wow. What else did he think about Bobby Brown? What did he think, Spirit? What did he think of this man? Okay. Ooh. Yikes. But the cards apply, honey, because you know they apply. You know they apply when they come out, honey. It's sometimes I gotta be like, Spirit, really? I'm like, you sure these people are thinking this, or this is just your own savagery? I got coronation. So what Kevin Costner thought at the time when Bobby married Whitney, his opinion based on coronation day: increased status, glow up, recognition, popular attention. So he felt very well that this marriage that Bobby Brown got himself into with Whitney was a glow up for him. He thought that this man was going to increase his status and get attention and more recognition, because he felt that Whitney was the star and Bobby was beneath. So he felt like Whitney was somewhat lowering her standard, is what I'm picking up energy wise. It's almost like you're up here, Whitney, and he's down here. He's not of your caliber. He's not of your class. Like, that's the energy I'm picking up. And it's like, you are beautiful. You could have any man, but this is what you chose. You chose the dude that you need to elevate his status. Why couldn't you get with me who has status? Maybe that's what he was thinking. But this is what I'm getting. He thought that Bobby Brown was using Whitney to elevate his status. Maybe, he didn't think that she wasn't loved by Bobby, but maybe he thought that Whitney was too good. She was too much of a powerhouse for Bobby Brown. I got sitting on a pedestal, too perfect to fail, idealistic, respected, and admired. So he knew that Bobby Brown had that energy of too perfect to fail, but he also knew that Bobby Brown had his own fan base. So he knows he was respected and he was admired, but he also knew he had a bit of arrogance to him, which more than likely he probably met Bobby Brown on the set when they were shooting the film. Maybe Bobby had stopped by. He gave me victim mentality, can't cope, won't cope, drama queen, and crybaby. And to me, I can see how that works because Bobby Brown in later years have shown somewhat of the crybaby essence. I believe that whole situation when he was on a particular woman's couch. If y'all know what I'm talking about, go look that up. But Corinne Steffen's couch, he was giving a little bit of that crybaby energy. So I can see what Kevin Costner is saying here about that. And Kevin Costner gave us a card, honey, that works. He said Bobby Brown is a party animal. Life of the party, social butterfly in the scene, in the streets. In the streets, girl. Having more fun, abundance. So he knew that Whitney needed a classy man, and he knew that Bobby wasn't cutting it. This man was forever going to be in the streets. In the streets. So Kevin Costner already knew this wasn't going to work. Kevin Costner also gave the card of naive financially, big spender with no money, used financially, little concept of money. So I wonder if back then, if during the friendship and the time, more than likely, Whitney was talking to Kevin Costner probably about getting with Bobby, but maybe she was talking about the party animal stuff, being in the streets. You know, I don't know if I should marry this man, Kevin. You know, he's always in the streets partying. And the man smells, not smells. The man spends like a blinking fool, that kind of stuff, you know, not too bright with his money. So that's what I meant to say. Not smells. I don't know if Brittany, I'm calling all people's names. You know, I'm crazy. Bobby Brown is what I meant to say. I don't know if Bobby Brown stinks. Didn't hear that rumor. Just me right now. Long day. So naive financially. This is basically what he was saying. Speaking of Brittany, I got to do a reading on her. So be on the lookout for that. That's why I think she was just in my mind. Okay. So we're talking about the fire starter. The rebel. Ooh, I'm about to drop cards. I'm telling you, long day. The rebel. So he knew Bobby had a bit of a rebellious attitude to him. He was rebellious, but that goes all with the naive financially. She talking about his spending habits, him probably not being good for her financially. I think we know now Bobby Brown is somewhat in that broke. I don't know if that is that bankruptcy, but yeah, he's no longer really financially well. So naive financially fits, and I'm sure Whitney at the time was complaining about maybe how he spent money, him being a rebel. I got the energy of bloodsucker, energy vampire, depriving you at your own expense. So this is how he felt about the man back then, or probably just in general, coming out of his energy. He thought that this man was a bloodsucker, energy vampire, depriving you at your own expense. Maybe he feels that Bobby is somewhat responsible for what happened to Whitney and how her addictions occurred. Because I'm getting the bloodsucker card, depriving someone at their own expense, right? Vampire energy vampire. I got smooth talker, deceptive, words to trick, persuasive, charmingly dangerous. So just like most bad boys, comes with the environment, comes with who they are and what they do. They're usually smooth talkers. So it seems like Kevin Costner saw a lot of Bobby Brown's characteristics really earlier from back in the 90s. What he thought of him after he had married Whitney. Thought the man used Whitney as a way to elevate his status. That's how he felt. He felt the man can't cope. And maybe that whole idea of him can't cope may have been how he got caught on his the substances himself, right? Using substances because he can't cope, and somewhat continue victimizing himself. The party animal, Kevin, Bobby's always in the streets, doesn't come home, he's always in the streets. He spends all our money recklessly. Rebellious, never on board, always starting stuff where it doesn't need to be started. A bloodsucker, taking advantage of Whitney, he feels, taking the best out of her. And a smooth talker, someone who's deceptive, someone who lies, someone that talks a good game. This is who he thought Bobby Brown was. So this is what I got, somewhat out of his opinion of Bobby Brown. But I'm going to get into these cards and see if Whitney regrets somewhat not giving Kevin Costner a chance. All right, Spirit, give me the cards for Whitney's energy towards the end of her death. Did she ever think about Kevin Costner and regret not giving him a chance? How does she feel? How did she feel? Oh, there goes that one. And that one felt a particular way. Hold on. All right. It felt like this. Okay. My cards are always flying off the table. And I got a bigger table. That's the craziest part. Okay. I think that's enough. So what I got in these cards is I got the Knight of Coins, which was, at the time, she felt she didn't know what to do. She felt, people telling her, like we said, we'll keep these cards and reference them. People simply telling her, red flags, Whitney. This is not going to work. This is bad for your career. You can't be with this man. We're marketing you to be a particular way. We're marketing him to be a particular way. This is not going to work for Hollywood. This is not acceptable in Hollywood. You know this is not going to work. So this is what she was somewhat going through. So I got the lack of direction, not really knowing where to go with it, right? Which is the Knight of Pentacles. I got the Knight of Cups, right? With Spirit saying she wanted to follow her heart, but she didn't follow her heart. She didn't. This card represents following your heart, as you can see. And like I just gave you all the lack of direction. Right? And then the following of your heart now. And worst of all, I got the Three of Swords for her. Deep emotional pain. You can see right here in the gold. Deep emotional pain. Grief, sorrow, loss, tears. So she regrets not embarking on that journey with Kevin Costner. She right up until the time of her death, that was her feeling. So she regrets. She regrets not being with him. She was the one that kind of pushed him away. But it is what it is, I suppose. So I'm going to go into the last drop and we're going to see what Kevin Costner thought of this woman. Although there are so many beautiful footages in terms of nice things that he said about her, especially the eulogy where he was saying that heaven received a lady, where even God himself has to question how he made a woman so perfect. He kept on referencing how perfect this woman was. He stated that no one else better could have played her movie role. And at the time, she didn't film her. She wasn't. I can't talk today. At the time, honey, she couldn't really act, I suppose. From what they were saying, she didn't really know if she could. And the few times she attempted, she didn't do well. So she was a little nervous about taking on this. She wanted to start off really small, and she didn't want such a major role, but she took the big role anyways. And Kevin Costner basically said that there wasn't a better woman to play the role, and he didn't care that he had to wait a whole year for her to decide whether she wanted to be Rachel. So he said it was worth it. It was worth the wait. And everyone thought he was crazy for waiting on this woman to decide whether she wanted to be in this movie. So, girl, he really wanted to see him some Whitney, is what it seems like. All right, Spirit, give me some cards on how Kevin Costner thought of Whitney. How did he view this woman? How did he view her? Kevin Costner, how did he view Whitney Houston? What type of woman was she? Any cards for this, Spirit? Whitney Houston. Any cards for Whitney? Kevin Costner's opinion. Take one more card or a couple more. Oh, perfect. Thank you. I'll pull one more. Anything else you'd like to say about this woman? Kevin Costner's energy. How he felt about Whitney Houston. What did he think of her? What made him so intrigued by her? Although we can only pull 5 cards, and I'm sure there's a lot more, but give me one more card, Spirit. Kevin Costner's energy towards Whitney. Kevin Costner's energy. All right. So what I got Deleonte. Easily impresses others with knowledge. So he's saying that she was very smart, intelligent. She delighted in learning many things. She's skillful in many areas, and she cares deeply. He also said she was the curious type. I got the Olympian energy for her. He said she'll work to disprove naysayers. Maybe that's how he felt when she was working on the film, because people thought she couldn't act. And she didn't do a good job the few times she did, I guess, personally, behind the scenes. But he said she would work to disprove the naysayers. She's a loyal person. She's inspired by impossible goals. She's energetic, free from doubt and uncertainty, and a passionate woman. He said she is the journalist. And I'll just show that to you all quickly. 1 second here. He said she is the father, inspirational, law and order, discipline, rational, frees others to explore and learn, understanding, the protector, oversees others. So he gave me the father card to reference how disciplined she is, how she oversees other people, her understanding. So she had a little bit of that masculine energy somewhat, where she liked to control, I guess, things and oversee, make sure things are going well. I got the Black Widow card for her. He said she was tough as nails, a skillful woman, focused, shapeshifter, decisive, plays both sides. He said she was a sexual magnet, power, money, and comfort, which is Whitney at the time. Whitney was a very powerful woman. She had her money. She was, one of the best singers at the time. She was on the top of the list. And he also said she was a sexual magnet, right? And if we go back to our original oracle drop, what was in there? Hypnotized. So he found her to be a sexual magnet. All right. Is there any other cards I didn't read? I think it's this one. I got journalist, advocates, uses tools to transform ideas, informs, educates, persuades, and entertains, which is who she is. She's an entertainer. Observes human condition, analyzes info. So, of course, she entertains, as you can see right here up top there, entertains. I got the accountant. Thorough, investment, stability, happiness, financial new beginnings, saving, prosperity, pleasure, and security. So what I'm getting from this card is very different than what he was saying about Bobby Brown, right? So it seems like they did talk about money because this card is referencing money and he's saying that she's thorough, she makes investment, she has stability financially, she's happiness, financial new beginnings, she's a saver. She tries to prepare for her security. So he must have known that Whitney was good with money and he must have known Bobby was horrible with it. So they definitely had this conversation about money because now it's coming out in his energy on how he feels about her as a woman. So he knew she was really good with money or trying to save it. She clearly didn't want to go back maybe to being, not financially well. But he said Bobby was naive. So this is what I got for his energy towards the kind of woman he was. He definitely said she was a sexual magnet. He found her to be attractive. He was hypnotized by this woman. And these are some of the cards that we got from the original drop around the entire energy, right? The second chance, which we've seen come up. Him wanting a second chance with this woman. Her being upset that she missed out on her second chance. And we don't even know how many second chances could have occurred throughout the years. Because they did say that he called her right before her death at some point. And the crazy thing is, they said that when she passed away, his son was having a birthday party during that time when he got the news, and he basically flicked on his camera and recorded himself venting and all the things that he wanted to tell her. And he claims that he doesn't know where the video is, and he's never watched it again. So something makes me feel he has that video, but he more than likely didn't want to say he had it because of his wife. But sad thing about it is, unfortunately, their separation happened after the movie. It's a wake-up call, most definitely. She's had her wake-up call. He had his wake-up call. The secrets of all these years of them liking each other and not doing anything about it. Him being hypnotized, as we've seen here, sexual magnet, is how he looked at this woman. Right there. And her being hypnotized. And him being hypnotized by her. Him watching her all these years and not doing anything, just watching, honey. Watching. Him dreaming. And the truth that, like Spirit said, what was the card I got for Whitney? It's kind of sad when I think about it. Him being her divine masculine, her yin to her yang. That was in her energy. She always knew. And the truth, the inner knowing, you knowing better and not really doing anything about it. So, guys, what it comes down to is unfortunately, when people find love, sometimes there's so many people that get involved and they don't get a chance to experience what should have been for them. And then they kind of focus on other people's opinions, you know, because now, you know, you got to wonder how Whitney's life would have been if Bobby Brown wasn't her husband. What if she had married Kevin Costner? And how Kevin Costner's life would have turned out? Because from what I seen and read, his divorce was pretty ugly. And his wife basically, from what I read, she didn't even divorce him for anything like infidelity. She basically divorced him because he had no time to spend home with the kids because he was working on the sets of movies, directing like he was doing with the Bodyguard. So I don't know, but moral of the story, and as Spirit would say, the wake up call is don't let anybody choose your partners for you. If you find someone you like, go after them. Because then you stay with that, I don't know, what's the word I'm looking for, but you stay in that mode forever and ever, wondering if you would have ever made it, if you would have ever been a good couple. Would you have ever found happiness with them? And I know, unfortunately, we live in a society where some people are against different religions, different races. But if you are attracted to someone, I say, hey, go for it. Go for it. The worst that can happen is it just doesn't work, and you just gotta cry it out again and start all over, I guess, right? So that's kind of how I look at everything. Is for that situation is the worst that can happen is it doesn't work and you tried. But unfortunately for Whitney's situation, I feel very sorry for her because I feel like maybe he was the love of her life and she didn't get a chance to experience him. And it seems like he looked at her the same way. Ouch. But anyways, guys, if you got a little thing for your boo or some special man or some special woman, don't waste any time. Pursue and see what happens. But until next time, you all, please like, share, comment, and subscribe. We'll be back to do some more celebrity stuff. And yeah, till next time, you all, bye.